Empress. We're back for Sipping Tea with Empress Season 2. And I am so excited to introduce my first guest, Mr.
Hello,
Jack
it's lovely to be with
Callaghan.
you. I'm doing
How are
very well.
you?
I'm very glad that you were able to get up this early on a lovely Sunday morning. When you sent me the message and said 9 o'clock, I was thinking, oh no, I don't get up at 9 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday for anyone. So I'm really grateful that you agreed to.
Yeah. Because I know the time difference, so I was like, okay, so if it's 2 o'clock there, it's gonna be 9 o'clock
Yeah.
here. I need to get up. I sleep all the
It's
time, right? I
usually
need to
me
get
that ends up having to get up. I have to get up at I tried to do one in Australia where I had to get up at 4 in the morning. That one wasn't fun.
Oh wow. Wow. That's early. That's early. So like I said, sipping to an empress is very casual. It's just like two friends talking, like it's not really, yeah. But I
Of
do
course.
have some questions for you, and
Oh.
I've been doing research. So I've been doing research. So my first question is, how long have you been writing?
I've been writing pretty much my entire life. I can't really remember a time where I wasn't doing it. Unfortunately, I have a really bad long-term memory. But since how long I've been doing it sort of seriously, for want of a better term, was sort of in my early teens. I really started to see it as something that I was able to do. Thanks to a piece of homework that was set by a teacher, the piece that we had to do was he gave us like the first few paragraphs of a short story, and then our task was to complete the rest of it. And then we all came in the next day and read out our endings to the story. And at the end of the lesson, he took me aside and he said, like, is this, he must have seen something in what I'd written. He said, is this something that you're really interested in pursuing? And I said, I sort of already am, but I kind of don't know where to go with it. But then he unfortunately poured an enormous bucket of cold water on me by saying, well, you need to pay really close attention during my lessons from now on. I was like, oh, really? Great. Um, but that was sort of the catalyst that got me into taking it seriously, and I started producing my own stories from then. Um, it took me a long time to get my first piece professionally published because unfortunately I didn't have the internet until the age of 23, and I was able to start sending stuff out to online zines and anthologies. Got my first thing properly published, and it kind of went from there. I was hooked.
No. See, it's always that one
Yeah,
teacher
he was a
that does
very good
it.
teacher. Mr. Granger, his name was. I don't know what became of him, but yeah, he was a big help, and he was right as well. If I paid a bit more attention during his classes, then there were a lot of things that I had to sort of relearn later on as an adult, and I was like, oh yeah, maybe if I had my head screwed on a bit tighter at school, this would be a little bit easier.
Yeah, yeah. Like if I connected then, it
Hmm.
would be easier now. Yeah. My next question is, what inspired or what was the inspiration behind your book?
With this book, with Zombie Nerd and Half Term Harrowing, it came from a conversation that me and some friends had at university. A few of us had noticed that there'd been a sort of younger people's literature renaissance sort of going on at the time, and we said to each other, if you were to write a book for younger people, what would it be about? And I said, mine would be about the end of the world, but there'd be songs in it. And for about another 10 or so years after that, I never thought about it again until it got to a point where I realized that my, for want of a better term, more serious writing, the stuff I was writing for adults, was not getting me anywhere. I ended up thinking to myself, okay, this kid's book. And it started off very different. I was trying too hard to emulate the children's and young adult writers that I was a fan of. and the result just ended up being really
Hmm.
derivative. So that when I took a second stab at it and thought, let's stop trying to copy these people, let's try and do something that's uniquely me. Um, all of a sudden, it started to open up, and I started to think, hang on, I think I've actually got something here, and it ended up turning into um, probably the most well-rounded and the most complete piece, if you know what I mean, that I've ever written. And I never would have thought I'd end up writing for younger readers. I never thought I'd get anything that I wrote for younger readers published, even if I had written it. But here we are. Mm.
Right. Right. So it's about zombies and the normal world,
Sort of
right?
in the
Like
normal world, yes.
coexisting, right?
What makes my zombies different is they act the same as everybody else. They're like you and me. They aren't to begin with, but after a
Oh, okay.
while, the sort of raging madness of zombification begins to die away, and what we're
Mhm.
left with is an entire new subsection of society, which is the main sort of drive that I'm trying to get at. I'm trying to use this theme, this novum, as a way to address more deeper social issues in a way that will be. I don't want to be patronizing and say easier for the reader to understand, but easier for the reader to engage with. It's not as dry as some more social critic themed books are. It's a fun way to address these subjects.
I like that. I like that. And so, is your book traditionally published or
It's kind of
self-published?
in between. It's published by a an independent press. Uh, I would not know where to begin with self publication. I do not know how other people do it. I'm actually rather frightened of it. Otherwise, I'd have probably done it a long time ago. And of course, the first thing that I did was I approached the larger, the more trad publish agencies and publishers, and
Right.
was met with nothing but rejection. One even sent me a rejection letter on the same day that I sent it to them, and one even who I won't name, but I really want to, but no, I won't. Um, Told me that the book was too strange and unmarketable, and the thing that I kept thinking to myself was, like, why aren't they getting it? Why can't they see it? And I ended up stumbling
Yeah.
across this the publisher that I now have, um, and they're a bunch of very very interesting people. They were more open minded, I'm going to say, towards what I was trying to achieve, and more willing to take a gamble on it. And not only did they bring an enormous amount of experience and expertise, but they paired me with an absolutely fantastic editor. Tony, if you're listening, that's you. I'll expect a call from you later where you tell me off for all the things I shouldn't have said. Um, and between us, we were able to refine the book um, into a much more polished piece, ready to be put out for people to read, that I know I never could have done on my own. And even if I did find an editor who was willing to work with me, I probably wouldn't have been able to pay them. Uh, so that's why the sort of, not necessarily trad, but the indie small press way has really been the way forward for me, and I'm really glad it's what I went with.
Yeah. See, I love that. I do. Now, for your book, is it like where can people find it?
It's in a lot of places at the moment. It's sort of spread out like a bad rash. Um, Obviously, the easiest way to get it, as loath as I am to admit it, is by Amazon. It's available on Amazon in hardback and on Kindle as well. There's no audio book yet, but I'm told one is in the works. Maybe later this year, maybe next year. It can also be purchased directly
Okay.
from the publisher if you're in the UK. You can get it cheap and quick from them. and I believe it's still on Kobo Plus at the moment.
Okay. Okay. And we kind of covered that. Let's see.
Yes,
Will there
definitely,
be a
lots.
sequel?
Uh, um, I
Okay.
I
So it's gonna be like a
originally envisioned it
series.
just as the one book, but as I
Okay.
was going on, I was like, that just the one isn't going to do it. I think I've got a world here, and the problem with world building is it's a form of psychosis that only writers suffer from, and once it's got you, it doesn't let go, and the ideas just kept coming and coming and coming, and it got to the point where I was thinking I could possibly do this forever. I've told the publisher I can deliver you a book a year for as long as you'll let me. And the best thing about the first one is it delivers the idea of the world very concisely. I'd like to think so. It's very similar to Terry Pratchett's Discworld books. Once you're familiar with the surrounding, you can do anything within it. So I think to myself, like, um, how does this work in my world, or what does that mean in my world? And before I know it, I've got an entirely new story. Um, so the second one is
Yeah.
currently with the editor. I delivered it a couple of months ago. We're hoping to have that out sometime soon, hopefully in the first half of this year. Um, the third one I've almost completely written. That's almost done. The fourth one I'm going to say 30% into my first draft. And I actually started making notes for the fifth one just the other day. Um, and in between that, in the time that since I delivered the second one to the editor and I'm taking a break from the zombie stuff for a while, I've actually written a completely different standalone novel in its entirety that I should finish the first draft of by the end of this week, hopefully. And this is what I do.
Ooh.
I'm not very good at anything else. So this is what I have instead of a life. So yes, lots more. I've only got the one at the moment, but if people are willing to, jump on board and come along with me, I will give you stuff, lots of stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're you're cool. See, and so 2025 is Jack Callaghan year, and living for it. Okay, so what are some? Well, I think you probably already said this just now, but what are some goals that you would like to see this year,
Um,
both like author and personal?
Obviously, get the second one out. That's sort of my primary thing right now. I'm dreading having to do the rewrite on it because my editor Tony is going to hate me because the draft that I sent her is 125,000 words long, um, which is far, far, far
Ooh,
too much. We're going to need to lose at least a quarter of that. Um, but the goal that I have more than anything is just to reach people, and it's the hardest thing in the world to do. People think that writing the book is hard. No, that's the easy part. People think that getting it published is hard. No, that's the easy
marketing.
part. Getting people to actually read the damn thing
Yeah.
is the hard part. Um,
Yep.
and I don't I don't particularly want to be rich. If you want to become rich, you don't become a writer. I don't particularly want to be famous because I don't know how I'd be able to handle it. It's why I wear a mask. It's why I'm quite secretive. Um, all that I want more than anything is enough is people to read what I produce and enjoy it. I don't consider myself an artist, and I never have. What I am first and foremost is an entertainer. I want to provide something that gives people a good time. It gives them something to read that they enjoy. I don't want someone to read all the way through my book and think, well, what a load of preachy nonsense that was, and just throw it away. I want to give them a good time.
Yeah.
Um, and if I was able to, just to have people, not loads of people, but just to know that I was reaching people, to know that I had an audience, no matter how small, um, would be really great. So that's kind of the aim for this year, is just to build recognition, build exposure, and try and get people on board.
You know what? As a fellow author, I completely agree with
Mm,
that. finding finding that audience, finding the connection to the audience, yeah, the marketing,
yeah, it's
yeah.
so hard, and you can't just throw money
It's
at it.
yeah.
Unfortunately, that's not how it works. If success could be bought, everyone would be doing it.
Oh, absolutely. I think the like you said, to go back to what you said, the publishing, okay. Editing, okay. The getting it out to people, the marketing is just like, and especially if you don't have the money to
Mm.
fully market, it's just like, okay,
Yeah,
like
that's the
what am
problem.
I doing?
I suppose what I said a moment ago, success can't be bought. That's not necessarily true. Unfortunately, there are cases where it can be, but unfortunately, it's not for amount of money that
Yeah.
you can afford. You need to be already super rich through something else. There's so many celebrities, singers, actors, um, who you never ever would have thought were writers, but before you know it, boom, they've got a book out, and you're like, oh right, like because
Yeah.
you're already good at doing this thing. I saw um, the top guy on Amazon for my sort of category for the longest time, um,
Mhm.
was I can't remember his name. It's Tom something, and it was like number one for like 10 weeks, and I was like, that name rings a bell. Who is this? And I looked it up, and it was the guy who's the lead singer in McFly, and I'm like, that's not fair. You can't be the lead singer in McFly and the number one selling young adult author. That's not allowed, mate. Take a back step and give some of us else a try. He said, not sounding bitter at all.
Right. Step aside. Yes. Yes. I totally agree with that. It's like I tell my friends all the time, I'm like, because my I have a very strong village and they have my books, but I'm like, word of mouth is everything because I'm poetry author. And to some people, poetry is
It's
dead,
not.
and I'm
It's
just like,
not.
no, it's still
There are
here.
9 poems in my own book.
It's not.
I'm a huge fan of poetry, and I have read some of the stuff that you've put up on Instagram. I'm impressed. I like your voice. I like your cadences. Um, I
Thank
looked into.
you.
I'm sorry. I looked into getting your book, but the delivery from Barnes and Noble to the UK is, it's extortionate. Um,
I
yeah,
bet.
not easy for us humble Europeans to get hold of.
I bet. I'm just like, I wonder because I'm like, here it's a little pretty penny, but like to cross, I'm like, yeah. I'll be like, I support you from across the way. you know. Um, let's see. Do I have any more questions? I think you answered my other question. I was going to ask who your targeted audience is. I think you
Yeah.
said young adults,
Um,
right?
the young adult range sort of goes from, I think it's about 12 to 17. I'd say sort of 13 to 16 is kind of my sweet spot. But I'd like to think that most of the people who have read the book so far have actually been adults. And that's good because it shows that adults can also enjoy it as well. But I've always worried that
Yeah.
when you say, "Oh, my target audience is everybody," what you're really saying is, "My target audience is nobody." So it is primarily written for people of that younger age range, but older people can get a kick out of it as well. I don't want people to think that it's it's a book that's written for children, but it's not a childish book, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Right. 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 Yeah. That makes sense. It's not like like some of these other books where they're young adult, but they have more of a like elementary type of thing going on. It's like, no, this book is specifically for this, and it's like it's for this audience, but it's not
Yeah, it's not
necessarily
cute
childish.
or
Yeah, yeah,
kitsy or anything
that
like
makes
that. In fact, there are some bits in it that are um, incredibly not cute to the point where I was writing them, I was like, I can't get away with this. But no, I left it in anyway, and
sense. Yeah,
the editor and the publisher reassured me, no, kids know what violence is. As long as you're not, as long as it's not shown, it's just very heavily implied. They're all for it. It's the parents you have to worry
right,
about.
right, right. It's like this in a book versus
Yeah,
a video
definitely.
game. I would take the book. Yeah, I would take the book for sure. Um, I have asked every question that I had, and you answered them all. So, at the end of Sipping to Empress, it is a tradition, and it's called Sip That Tea. And in Sip That Tea is when you get to air out anything that you want to say, what's been on your chest, anything you want to get out, speak to your audience. So, you have the floor. You have the
Oh dear. Well, the first thing is my most un-British quality is that I don't like tea. But uh, oh, things that I want to air, things that I want to talk about. Oh God, there are so many. Um, uh, I'm mostly fed up of. I'm going to take a dig at Amazon. I can't help it. Uh, Obviously, Amazon makes
floor.
my book much more accessible to people, but I don't like their pricing systems. The paperback version of my book for people to buy in the US is currently $25, which I think is ridiculously overpriced, and I'm very concerned by the stranglehold that Amazon is getting on the book industry. I think that Kindle Unlimited is a complete scam. Any fellow writers out there who are considering putting their stuff out on Kindle Unlimited don't. Um, that system makes money for them, not for you. Uh, so I want to try and support people in different ways by buying either directly from them or from other platforms. So yeah, I don't like Amazon. What else? Um, I don't like how many romance authors there are out at the moment. Romance authors are doing my head in. You're on Threads. Have you seen how much of that site is just romance? It it's so strange. Um,
Romance. Mine is romance, fantasy, and I do have like some poetry people on
all I
there.
seem to get is romance, and
Yeah.
I often worry that I'm hitting I'm hitting that platform from the wrong angle. And I even made a post about it the other day, which got absolutely no reaction, which means that yeah, I probably am reaching the wrong people. And I'm like, where are all the freaks? Where are all the weirdos? Where are my people? Like, I'm sat here in a bloody mask, um, rambling on about zombies and everything like that, and I'm surrounded by people who are like, "Oh, we like closed door romance novels and knitting jumpers and drinking tiny little cups of tea," and I'm like, I don't want it. Like, so yeah, don't like Amazon, don't like romance. What things do I like? Let's talk about the things that I do like. I like how I'm seeing more self publication by people who are not on Amazon, people who are doing it for themselves. They're setting up that, yeah, like yourself, people who are either doing it through other places like Barnes and Noble or through Kobo, or they're setting up their very own shops on places like Etsy where they can give you physical copies. Sometimes they sign them, or they do deluxe editions, or they come up with ways of getting their own ebooks
Mm.
out to people. I love seeing things like that. And as I say, if I wish I could do it myself, even though I know that I don't have the skill set. Because when I see somebody do something by themselves, I always think like, yeah, you did it, you beat the system. Um, and I think if more people were doing things like that, it'd change the landscape of self publication, where Amazon doesn't have such a big grip on
Yeah.
it, because they have a terrible track record for things like not paying tax. They have a terrible track record for things like workers' rights. So, I buy things from Amazon the same as everybody else. It's unavoidable these days. But having something with my name on
Yeah.
it that other people are going to buy, obviously, I want them to buy it. I want them to get it. But knowing that it's going through such a shady company doesn't sit very well with me at all. So get the Kindle version.
Yeah.
It's cheaper. Less money goes into Bezos's pocket. If you're in the UK, go onto the Amazon UK for my book right now, but don't buy the first one that you see. Click on available editions. I think that it is. You'll see that there's the main one for 10.99, but at the moment they've also got it going really cheap. It's only £3. Get that one. Get the cheaper one.
You heard him. Go get
No,
that
actually,
cheap
no.
one.
My editor told me to stop using the word cheap. She said using the word cheap cheapens the work. Get to the one which is more affordable. Yeah, that sounds better.
There you go. There you go. There you go. There you go. I will say that self being a self published author is strange. It's very strange because it's like people look at you and you're like, oh, like you said, like you like, yeah, you did it, and then there's some people that are like, so you
Yeah,
couldn't just do it
yeah, that's the
traditionally. I'm
thing.
like, no.
People say, "Oh, you're self-published because you couldn't get it published anywhere else." No, that's not always the case. One of the things that you have with self-publication is you don't have to relinquish control of your work to anybody else. It's not always about the money. Obviously,
You
you
have
make
the
more money as a
freedom.
self-published author,
Yes.
but you also don't have somebody looking over your shoulder the whole time or making decisions for you. I once saw somebody. I saw a post where someone asked, "What are the pros and cons of self-publishing?" And this person reacted. It was brilliant. I wish I'd come up with it, but it was great. They said the pro of self-publishing is you do whatever you want. No one tells you what to do. The con is you do whatever you want and no one tells you what to do. Um, so to be self-published, it takes a lot of bravery. It takes some nerve to decide to go it alone.
Yeah, for sure. I do know like you have an editor. I edit. Like I have like my family, like my friends. My aunt did my first book. She did the book cover. My second book, my friend did that book cover. And my nana, she's really good with English. So I'll send my script to her. She'll be like, fix this, fix this, fix this, send it back. Redo it, send it back. So
My
she's
editor
who's
is
your
named
editor
Tony
again?
Glitz. If you go to glitzedit.co.uk, you can see her stuff.
Yeah, I have a Tony.
That's the thing. You see, I get her
Shout
I get her
out
for
to Tony.
free. It's something that so many people don't have access to, and it's great that you've got a support network around you who are willing to read and look over your stuff, because I kind of don't. I've developed a network since the first book came out, and since I've been meeting
Mm.
people. Some people from another podcast that I was on have agreed to be sort of my alpha readers for whatever I produce. But up until then, the only person that I really had was my mum, and unfortunately, she is my harshest critic. So I needed some people that will maybe go a little bit easier on me.
Just like,
Mm.
oh, okay, all right, type of thing. Yeah, but you know what? I'm excited to see what else you got because I'm now that I know like who Jack Callahan is. I'm gonna keep my eye out for you For sure. I'm waiting for that
Yeah,
second
like
book
I
to
say,
see.
it'll hopefully be before the first half of this year, but it'll be out when it's out. So if people want to follow me, I'm mainly lurking around on Instagram at the moment, putting up silly things such as um, songs that I perform, little plastic rat men that I paint for fun, and things that I find in charity shops. There's not really a lot about writing going on at the moment, but I try to be as fun and entertaining as I can be. So if people want to come and jump on the Jack train, oh my god, that sounded awful. Why did I say that? Oh man. um, then you can come and stick with me. You can check out the first book. I'd really appreciate it if you did, and you'll be the first to know when the new stuff comes out and stuff that I do in between.
And you know what? You got to come back. You just have to. You have to come back
Yeah,
to
when the
72
second one comes
Empress.
out, I'd love to come back on.
Right. See? Okay. So, thank you for coming on. I'm so happy that you were able to come on. And that's a wrap for Sipping to Empress. This episode will drop tomorrow. Yeah, it'll drop tomorrow. So,
See you
bye
later, everyone.
guys.
Have a great
And
day.
bye Jack. Thank you.